The door slammed so hard the walls shook, a sound that carried through the house like a shot. He didn't move. He sat on the edge of the table, hands flat against the wood, staring at the empty space where she had stood. Her footsteps had already faded, leaving behind only silence. And then the children's crying began from the back room. He didn't answer it. He couldn't. Her last words still hung in the air. She had stood by the doorway with her eyes cold and her bag clutched to her chest. "Don't beg me. I won't. Then hate me." The slam followed, sharp and final. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead into his hands. The children's cries grew louder, muffled but desperate. He whispered, barely moving his lips, "She's gone." From the doorway of the kitchen, his oldest daughter stepped in. She was only 10, but her eyes were sharper than they should have been. "Where's Mama?" He didn't lift his head. "Gone. Gone where?" He finally looked at her, and the truth pressed out of him like blood. "To your uncle." The girl's face twisted. She shook her head, fists tightening. "She can't." She did. The little boy stumbled into the kitchen next, dragging his blanket across the floor. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "Mama mad." The man swallowed. "Not mad? Then why did she go?" He pushed away from the table and walked to the window. Outside, dust lifted, where a wagon had rolled past. He didn't have to see it to know she was in it. He didn't have to wonder where it was going. He said it low, almost to himself. "Because he's rich." The daughter's voice was sharp. "We don't need him. We need her. She don't want us." The boy whimpered, pulling at his father's shirt. "Make her come back." The man knelt, staring into the boy's wet face. His voice cracked, but the words stayed short. "I can't." The girl's voice cut in again. "You should have stopped her." He stood up fast, hands shaking. "You think I didn't try?" She glared back, jaw set. "You didn't move." He turned away, chest heaving, but no words followed. He walked back to the table, sat down hard, and stared at the wood again. The house was quiet, except for the boy's sniffles and the girl's heavy breathing. Finally, the boy whispered, "Uncle got the big house." The girl snapped, "Shut up." The boy cried louder. The father's voice rose, harsh but broken. "Enough." Silence fell again, heavy and sharp. The girl finally sat across from him, folding her arms on the table. "What happens now?" He stared at her, his mouth opened, then shut. His eyes drifted to the wall, where a rifle leaned, dusty and unused. "We keep going. That's it. That's all." The boy rubbed his face into his blanket, mumbling, "Mama be back." The girl looked at her father, waiting. He shook his head. "Not the way she left." The boy's voice trembled. "You don't love her anymore." He swallowed, trying to hold himself steady. "I didn't stop." "Then why did she leave?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "Because love don't buy food." The girl's lip curled. "She picked money. She picked him." The girl slammed her fist against the table. "She's wrong." He didn't argue. He let the silence answer. The boy climbed into his lap, clutching at his shirt like it was the only thing keeping him from floating away. "Don't let her go." His arms tightened around the child. His voice came out low, steady, but empty. "It's done." The girl leaned forward, eyes fierce. "You gonna fight him?" He looked at her, surprised. "Fight who?" "Uncle." His jaw tightened. "He's blood. He ain't family." He let the words sink in, then turned his gaze back to the window. Dust still hung in the air outside. Fading slow, the last trace of her leaving. The boy whispered, half asleep against his chest, "She'll come back." The man closed his eyes. "Go to bed." The girl didn't move. "What about you?" "I'll sit." "Till when?" "Till I can't." The girl stood, dragging her brother toward the back room. Her last words before she closed the door carried like a knife. "You let her win." When the door clicked shut, he exhaled hard. Alone in the kitchen, The sound of the slam echoed back. In his head, louder than before, his hands gripped the table edge until his knuckles turned white. He whispered into the empty air. "Hate me, you said." His voice broke into silence. He looked at the rifle leaning against the wall. For a long time, he stared, but didn't move. His eyes dropped to the floor, to the dust creeping across it. The same dust that clung to the wagon wheels now carrying her away. From the back room came the faint sound of the boy humming to himself, a broken little tune, soft and uneven. The man's head lowered. He listened to it, every note pressing into him like a weight. The girl's voice joined, sharp even in whisper. "Don't cry," he said. The boy whispered back, "I'm not." The man closed his eyes and let their words bleed into the silence. When the house grew still, he opened his eyes again, looking to the door she had slammed. The wood still rattled in its frame, as if the echo of her leaving would never stop. He whispered one last time, "It's done," and the silence swallowed him whole. The shovel bit into the dirt, and the dirt bit back. His hands were raw, skin split and bleeding into the soil. He didn't stop. He leaned into it, jaw locked, breath short, driving the blade over and over. Dust lifted into his mouth, choking him, but he swallowed it down and kept digging. The fields stretched bare, stubborn ground, refusing to give, but he fought it anyway. From the road came voices carried on the dry wind. "She left for money. Can't feed a family on pride." He gritted his teeth and drove the shovel deeper. The whispers shifted, closer, louder. "He's still out there, working dirt that don't care. Fools wasting his hands." The shovel hit rock. He stopped, panting. His palms burned as he gripped the handle tighter. He spat into the dust, wiped sweat with the back of his wrist, and kept on. By sundown. He staggered toward the house, shoulders bent, shirt stuck to his back. The children waited at the table. No food sat between them, just plates, empty but set, like the shape of hope. The girl spoke first, her voice sharp as always. "You look bad." He lowered himself onto the bench, every joint aching. He didn't answer. The boy whispered, "Mom'd cook by now." The girl shot him a look. "Don't." He finally spoke, voice rough. "She's gone." The boy pushed his plate away. "She come back." The man's eyes fixed on the table, not moving. Silence stretched. The girl pressed harder. "Will she, still?" Silence. The boy leaned in, desperate. "Say yes." His head lifted, slow, heavy. His voice cut through like a blade. "Not the way she left." The words froze the room. The boy blinked, not understanding. The girl stared, biting her lip. The boy tried again, but the girl snapped. "Stop." He rose from the bench, chair scraping loud against the floor. He crossed to the water bucket, poured a dipper, drank deep. The water ran down his chin, mixing with the dust caked on his skin. The girl spoke behind him, quiet now. "They talk in town." He set the dipper down. "Let em, they say. You can't keep us." His shoulders tensed. "I can. They don't believe it." His hands clenched at his sides. "I don't care what they believe." The boy piped up, small voice cracking. "Uncle got her now." The man spun, eyes sharp. "Don't say that. But it's true. Don't." The boy shrank back, clutching the edge of the table. The girl's gaze held steady. "He's right?" The man's voice thundered, filling the room. "I said enough." Silence again, heavy, thick. He leaned against the wall, chest rising and falling hard. The children stared at him, their plates untouched. Finally, he muttered, "Will, eat." The girl said, "Eat, what?" He didn't answer. She pushed her plate away. "You can't keep us fed on nothing." His jaw tightened. "I'll work more. You already bleed. I'll bleed more." The boy whispered, "Don't die, Papa." The words cut deeper than any shovel. He knelt beside the boy's hand, resting on his shoulder. His voice softened. "I won't." The boy's lip trembled. Mama said same. The girl looked away, eyes wet but hard. He rose again, pulled the rifle from the wall, checked the chamber, then set it back. His hands shook slightly. He turned to them. You sleep? Tomorrow's mine to worry. The boy clung to his blanket. What if she comes back tonight? He closed his eyes a moment, then opened them steady. She won't. The boy's tears spilled. Why not? He forced the words out slow. Because she's already somewhere else. The girl stood, grabbing her brother's hand. Come on. The door slammed so hard the walls shook, a sound that carried through the house like a shot. He didn't move. He sat on the edge of the table, hands flat against the wood, staring at the empty space where she had stood. Her footsteps had already faded, leaving behind only silence. And then the children's crying began from the back room. He didn't answer it. He couldn't. Her last words still hung in the air. She had stood by the doorway with her eyes cold and her bag clutched to her chest. Don't beg me. I won't. Then hate me. The slam followed, sharp and final. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead into his hands. The children's cries grew louder, muffled but desperate. He whispered, barely moving his lips. She's gone. From the doorway of the kitchen, his oldest daughter stepped in. She was only 10, but her eyes were sharper than they should have been. Where's Mama? He didn't lift his head. Gone. Gone where? He finally looked at her, and the truth pressed out of him like blood. To your uncle. The girl's face twisted. She shook her head, fists tightening. She can't. She did. The little boy stumbled into the kitchen next, dragging his blanket across the floor. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Mama mad. The man swallowed. Not mad? Then why did she go? He pushed away from the table and walked to the window. Outside, dust lifted, where a wagon had rolled past. He didn't have to see it to know she was in it. He didn't have to wonder where it was going. He said it low, almost to himself. Because he's rich. The daughter's voice was sharp. We don't need him. We need her. She don't want us. The boy whimpered, pulling at his father's shirt. Make her come back. The man knelt, staring into the boy's wet face. His voice cracked, but the words stayed short. I can't. The girl's voice cut in again. You should have stopped her. He stood up fast, hands shaking. You think I didn't try? She glared back, jaw set. You didn't move. He turned away, chest heaving, but no words followed. He walked back to the table, sat down hard, and stared at the wood again. The house was quiet, except for the boy's sniffles and the girl's heavy breathing. Finally, the boy whispered, Uncle got the big house. The girl snapped, shut up. The boy cried louder. The father's voice rose, harsh but broken. Enough. Silence. Fell again, heavy and sharp. The girl finally sat across from him, folding her arms on the table. What happens now? He stared at her, his mouth opened, then shut. His eyes drifted to the wall, where a rifle leaned, dusty and unused. We keep going. That's it. That's all. The boy rubbed his face into his blanket, mumbling, Mama be back. The girl looked at her father, waiting. He shook his head. Not the way she left. The boy's voice trembled. You don't love her anymore. He swallowed, trying to hold himself steady. I didn't stop. Then why did she leave? His voice dropped to a whisper. Because love don't buy food. The girl's lip curled. She picked money. She picked him. The girl slammed her fist against the table. She's wrong. He didn't argue. He let the silence answer. The boy climbed into his lap, clutching at his shirt like it was the only thing keeping him from floating away. Don't let her go. His arms tightened around the child. His voice came out low, steady, but empty. It's done. The girl leaned forward, eyes fierce. You gonna fight him? He looked at her, surprised. Fight who? Uncle. His jaw tightened. He's blood. He ain't family. He let the words sink in, then turned his gaze back to the window. Dust still hung in the air outside. Fading slow, the last trace of her leaving, the boy whispered, half asleep against his chest, "She'll come back." The man closed his eyes. "Go to bed." The girl didn't move. "What about you?" "I'll sit." "Till when?" "Till I can't." The girl stood, dragging her brother toward the back room. Her last words before she closed the door carried like a knife. "You let her win." When the door clicked shut, he exhaled hard. Alone in the kitchen, the sound of the slam echoed back. In his head, louder than before, his hands gripped the table edge until his knuckles turned white. He whispered into the empty air, "Hate me, you said." His voice broke into silence. He looked at the rifle leaning against the wall. For a long time, he stared, but didn't move. His eyes dropped to the floor, to the dust creeping across it. The same dust that clung to the wagon wheels now carrying her away. From the back room came the faint sound of the boy humming to himself, a broken little tune, soft and uneven. The man's head lowered. He listened to it, every note pressing into him like a weight. The girl's voice joined, sharp even in whisper. "Don't cry," he said. The boy whispered back, "I'm not." The man closed his eyes and let their words bleed into the silence. When the house grew still, he opened his eyes again, looking to the door she had slammed. The wood still rattled in its frame, as if the echo of her leaving would never stop. He whispered one last time, "It's done," and the silence swallowed him whole. The shovel bit into the dirt, and the dirt bit back. His hands were raw, skin split and bleeding into the soil. He didn't stop. He leaned into it, jaw locked, breath short, driving the blade over and over. Dust lifted into his mouth, choking him, but he swallowed it down and kept digging. The fields stretched bare, stubborn ground, refusing to give, but he fought it anyway. From the road came voices carried on the dry wind. "She left for money. Can't feed a family on pride." He gritted his teeth and drove the shovel deeper. The whispers shifted, closer, louder. "He's still out there, working dirt that don't care. Fools wasting his hands." The shovel hit rock. He stopped, panting. His palms burned as he gripped the handle tighter. He spat into the dust, wiped sweat with the back of his wrist, and kept on. By sundown. He staggered toward the house, shoulders bent, shirt stuck to his back. The children waited at the table. No food sat between them, just plates, empty but set, like the shape of hope. The girl spoke first, her voice sharp as always. "You look bad." He lowered himself onto the bench, every joint aching. He didn't answer. The boy whispered, "Mom'd cook by now." The girl shot him a look. "Don't." He finally spoke, voice rough. "She's gone." The boy pushed his plate away. "She come back." The man's eyes fixed on the table, not moving. Silence stretched. The girl pressed harder. "Will she, still?" Silence. The boy leaned in, desperate. "Say yes." His head lifted, slow, heavy. His voice cut through like a blade. "Not the way she left." The words froze the room. The boy blinked, not understanding. The girl stared, biting her lip. The boy tried again, but the girl snapped. "Stop." He rose from the bench, chair scraping loud against the floor. He crossed to the water bucket, poured a dipper, drank deep. The water ran down his chin, mixing with the dust caked on his skin. The girl spoke behind him, quiet now. "They talk in town." He set the dipper down. "Let em, they say. You can't keep us." His shoulders tensed. "I can. They don't believe it." His hands clenched at his sides. "I don't care what they believe." The boy piped up, small voice cracking. "Uncle got her now." The man spun, eyes sharp. "Don't say that." "But it's true." "Don't." The boy shrank back, clutching the edge of the table. The girl's gaze held steady. "He's right?" The man's voice thundered, filling the room. "I said enough." Silence again. Heavy. Thick. He leaned against the wall, chest rising and falling hard. The children stared at him, their plates untouched. Finally, he muttered, "Will? Eat," the girl said. "Eat, what?" He didn't answer. She pushed her plate away. "You can't keep us fed on nothing." His jaw tightened. "I'll work more. You already bleed. I'll bleed more." The boy whispered, "Don't die, Papa." The words cut deeper than any shovel. He knelt beside the boy's hand, resting on his shoulder. His voice softened. "I won't." The boy's lip trembled. "Mama said same." The girl looked away, eyes wet but hard. He rose again, pulled the rifle from the wall, checked the chamber, then set it back. His hands shook slightly. He turned to them. "You sleep? Tomorrow's mine to worry." The boy clung to his blanket. What if she comes back tonight? He closed his eyes a moment, then opened them steady. She won't. The boy's tears spilled. "Why not?" He forced the words out slow. "Because she's already somewhere else." The girl stood, grabbing her brother's hand. "Come on." As she led him to the back room, she threw one last look over her shoulder. "You gonna let her win again?" The door shut behind them. He sat alone at the table, staring at the empty plates. Dust clung to the rim of his water cup. He rubbed his raw palms against the wood, leaving faint smears of blood. He whispered to the silence, not the way she left. The wind pushed against the house, rattling the windows. Voices carried again, faint from the road. "Pride don't fill a belly. He'll break before the dirt gives." He pressed his forehead against his hands. The sound of the slam still echoed in his head, the sound of her leaving. He whispered one word, so soft it nearly vanished in the dust. "Fool." The night pressed close, thick and unforgiving, and he sat there, waiting for a dawn that felt too far to come. The church bell struck noon, sharp and hollow, and the sound carried across the town square. Wagons rolled in slow, loud iron wheels, grinding the dirt. At the front sat his brother, dressed in a black coat that caught every stare. Beside him, dressed fine, sat her. The man froze at the edge of the square. He had come to trade corn for flour, but now every eye had turned, not to him, but to the sight of them. Her hand rested on the rich brother's arm. Her smile was thin, but it was there. The gold chain around her neck gleamed hotter than the sun. Neighbors muttered low. She chose right. Look at the shine, better than dirt under fingernails. The man's jaw locked tight. His hands balled into fists, nails biting into skin. The wagon slowed. The brother stood tall, lifted. His hat waved. The crowd clapped like trained dogs. The woman's eyes flicked, quick and sharp, to where he stood, just for a second, then gone. The man stepped back into the shadow of the feed store. He couldn't breathe right. His chest was heavy, throat full of dust. From the doorway, an old man hissed, "Don't watch, you'll bleed worse." The man's voice cracked out, "I ain't bleeding." The old man shook his head. "Then you're blind." The wagon rolled past, toward the new house at the edge of town. White boards, tall windows, a house built to be seen. The man pushed through the crowd. Faces turned, whispers followed. Pride's all he's got left. He'll choke on it. He ducked into an alley, leaning against the wall, trying to swallow the burn in his chest. A voice slid from the dark. "You'll lose more than her." He spun. A neighbor, rough coat, eyes narrow, chewing on a toothpick. The man's words were flat. "I've lost enough." The neighbor smirked. "Not yet," then slipped away. The man stood alone. His hands shook, but his face stayed stone. He walked home by the back road, dust clinging to his boots. The sound of laughter from the mansion to be carried across the fields. That night, the children sat by the table again, their faces lit by the weak lantern glow. The boy asked, "Did you see her?" The man said nothing. The girl pressed. She looked different. His eyes stayed on the wall. She looked gone. The boy frowned. but she was right there. The girl's tone was sharp, not the same. The boy slammed his small fist on the table. Why she pick him? The girl hissed. Because he's rich. The man finally spoke. Because he wanted her more than he feared her. The boy's eyes widened. And you didn't. The words cut deep. The man's voice dropped low. I ain't fighting this at the table. The girl leaned in. Towns, laughing papa. He met her stare. Let em choke on it. The boy whispered, we already lost. The girl shot him a glare, then looked back at their father. You gonna let him win? The man rose, slow, steady. His chair scraped hard against the floor. He walked to the window, stared out at the faint glow of the mansion on the hill. He whispered, not to them, but to the night. I'll burn before I bow. The girl heard it. She nodded once, sharp, then pulled her brother toward bed. When they were gone, he sat alone, head in his hands. The whispers from town still rang in his ears. She left for money. Can't feed a family on pride. His brother's voice came back too, from years ago. You'll never hold what you can't buy. He spat into the dirt floor. We'll see. The lamp flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. He stared at them, shapes twisting like ghosts. For a moment, he swore he saw her face in the dark corner, smiling with the same thin smile she wore in the wagon. He stood fast, heart hammering, fists raised. But the corner was empty. He lowered, his hands shaking, then muttered to himself, I've lost enough. Outside, a dog barked at the night, and the laughter from the mansion carried across the fields, sharp as broken glass. The kitchen was quiet, except for the scratch of a chair, leg dragging across the wood floor. A single lamp burned on the table, flame low, shadows long. The children leaned in close, faces pale in the dim glow. The man sat with folded arms, staring at the folded paper set before him. The girl whispered, what is it? The boy leaned forward, trying to snatch it. The man's hand slammed down, flat against the paper. His voice was rough. Not yours. The boy jerked back. Then what's it say? The man didn't answer. The girl's voice sharpened. You bring it home. You open it. We sit here watching you bleed out silence. He looked at her then, eyes tired but steady. Slowly, he slid the paper out, smoothed it across the table. The lamplight caught black ink, curling signatures, stamped with a seal he knew too well. The girl squinted. What's it mean? His throat worked before words came. It's the deed. The boy frowned. Deed. The girl's eyes widened. Land deed. He nodded once. His jaw twitched. The girl whispered, ours. His voice cracked. Was. Ain't now. The boy leaned closer, lips moving as he tried to trace the letters with his finger. The man grabbed his wrist, shoved his hand back. Read it, the boy asked. The man's silence was answer enough. The girl filled the space. It says his name, don't it? He swallowed. It says my brother's. The boy blinked fast. Uncle's asterisk asterisk, yeah. His voice was flat, dead. The girl whispered, he stole it. The man shook his head once, slow. He was always going to. The boy's voice broke. But it's ours. It ain't. The boy slammed his small fist against the table. But you worked it. The man's hands curled into fists. Work. Don't matter when ink's heavier. The girl's eyes glistened, jaw tight. Then what's left? He looked at her, long and hard, but didn't answer. The silence pressed thicker than rage. The lamp flickered, shadows shifting across their faces. The boy whispered, softer now. Mama's with him, cause of that paper. The man's chest heaved. He turned his head away. The girl's voice snapped. Say it. That's why she left. He turned back, eyes burning. She left 'cause she wanted. Don't give her less blame, the boy muttered, but paper made him strong. The man's voice cracked sharp. Paper don't make a man. The girl leaned forward, whispering hard, but it made him win. The words cut deep. His fist slammed down on the table. The lamp shook, flame jumping high, then low again. The boy flinched. The girl stayed steady. The man's breath came ragged. You think winning's gold chains and deeds. You think it's wagons rolling through town. The girl didn't blink. That's what everyone else thinks. His voice dropped, low, bitter. Then everyone else is blind. The boy whispered, we ain't got nothing. The sheriff tipped his hat, turned slow, boots thudding down the steps. Each step echoed like a drumbeat in the children's ears. The boy whispered, he'll come back with more. The girl pulled him close. Shut up. The man closed the door. The wood shook in the frame. He turned, eyes dark. You heard. The children didn't answer. The man's voice grew rough. You heard. The boy nodded quick. Yes, sir. The girl whispered, we're not blind. The man sank into the chair, hands covering his face. Law don't belong to us. Never did. The boy spoke, voice shaking. What if we make our own? The girl shot him a look. Don't talk stupid. But the boy's eyes locked on their father. What if we did? The man dropped his hands, stared at the boy. His voice was tired. Law's just bullets with paper wrapped around them. He's got both. The girl whispered, then what's left? The man didn't answer. He only stared at the table where the grain of the wood looked like scars. Later, after the lamp burned low, the children lay awake. The boy whispered, he's scared. The girl hissed, so are we. The boy shook his head. No, Papa, he's scared. The girl pulled the blanket tight. Stop talking. The boy whispered softer. If the law won't fight for us, then it's not law. It's just his brother's gun. The girl closed her eyes, but her hands shook under the blanket. Outside, the sheriff's shadow lingered at the edge of the road, watching the farmhouse until the lamp went dark. Then he turned, boots crunching in the dust, and vanished into the night. The next morning, the man walked the fields alone. The children trailed behind, silent. The boy finally spoke. He'll kill you if you push him. The man kept walking. Then let him try. The girl whispered, Papa, but his voice cut sharp. Enough. They worked in silence, though. The boy's eyes never left the hill where the mansion stretched higher. That night, over bread and beans, the boy asked, will he come again? The man answered without looking up, he will. The girl swallowed hard. Then what? The man's voice was flat. Then I stand. The boy leaned forward, and we stand with you. The girl's voice broke. Stop it, both of you. Just stop. But the man didn't argue. He only looked at his son, something fierce in his eyes. Later, after the children slept, he sat alone on the porch, staring into the dark road. His voice was low, a whisper meant for no one. Come back, Sheriff. Come back and see. The night answered only with crickets and wind through the dry grass. The crack came first, a beam splitting in the dark, a sound like a tree struck by lightning. Then the glow, faint at the edges of the window, crawling brighter. The boy sat, up in bed, eyes wide. Papa. The man was already at the door. He threw it open, and the night screamed with fire. The barn burned, flames racing high, sparks snapping like whips. The girl cried out, it's him. The man grabbed the bucket by the well. You can't prove it. Move. They ran, barefoot on dirt, smoke already in their throats. The boy stumbled, coughing. The girl pulled him up, eyes watering. The man threw water, but the flames swallowed it whole, hissing louder. He shouted, more. The children filled their buckets, hands shaking, arms weak. They poured, but the wood laughed. Screaming louder as the roof caved, the girl sobbed, it won't stop. The man's voice was raw. Keep going. The boy choked on smoke, dropping his bucket. I can't breathe. The man grabbed him, shoving him toward the yard. Stay back. Another beam fell, sparks scattering across the dirt. The girl, shrieked. The man's face was black with soot, eyes wild. Stay away from the walls. The barn doors groaned, then split, flames spilling like a river. The animals inside screamed, a sound sharper than the fire. The girl clutched her brother. We can't save them. The man's jaw locked. We try. He rushed forward, yanking at the latch, skin burning from the heat. He pulled hard, the doors tearing open. Smoke poured out, rolling over him. He staggered back as two horses bolted, manes on fire, vanishing into the night. The boy sobbed into his sister's shoulder. Papa, the man coughed blood into his hand, eyes watering. Keep the buckets coming. But the fire was winning, chewing through timber, lifting the roof into the sky in a storm of sparks. The girl screamed, Papa, stop, it's gone. The man dropped to his knees, coughing hard, chest rattling. Smoke filled his lungs, each breath knives. He slammed a fist against the dirt. Damn him, the boy whispered through tears. It's him, he did it. The girl shook her head. You don't know. The boy spat. I know. The barn roared, collapsing into itself, beams shrieking, sparks raining down like judgment. They stumbled back as the heat drove them away. The girl cried into her hands. It's all gone. The man pulled her close, pulling the boy in too, their faces pressed against his chest. We'll build again, he rasped. We will. Through the smoke, boots struck the dirt. The sheriff appeared, hat shadowing his eyes, hands folded. Behind his back. He stopped at the edge of the light, watching the barn die. The boy shouted, voice raw. You did this. The man pulled him back, quiet. The sheriff's voice was calm, almost bored. Accidents happen. The girl glared, through tears. Liar. The sheriff's eyes flicked to her, cold and flat. Watch your tongue. The man stepped forward, ash falling on his shoulders. You came to see it burn. The sheriff didn't move. I came because fire draws eyes. Same as vultures. The man's fists shook. Say it plain. The sheriff tilted his head. You've got nothing left but this house. Be careful, or you'll lose that too. The boy screamed. We're not scared of you. The sheriff's gaze lingered on the boy before shifting back to the man. Teach your son to hold his mouth, or the grave will. The girl whispered, Don't answer him, Papa. But the man's voice was sharp. Go back to your brother's hill. Tell him this isn't finished. The sheriff's mouth twitched, almost a smile. It's already finished. You just haven't seen the ending yet. He turned, boots crunching slow across the dirt, vanishing into smoke. The boy trembled, fists balled. He'll come back. The girl's face streaked with ash. He'll never stop. The man pulled them both close again, his voice broken. Then neither will we. They stood, watching the barn sink into black ash. Sparks floated into the night sky, drifting like ghosts. The smell clung to their clothes, their hair, their skin. The boy whispered, What now? The man answered without pause, We rebuild. The girl shook her head. He'll just burn it again. The man's eyes narrowed, smoke still in his lungs. Then we build something he can't burn. The boy looked up. Like what? The man stared at the hill where the mansion rose against the horizon, timber and stone catching the moonlight. His voice was a whisper. Like that. The girl gasped. Papa, no. The boy's face lit with fierce light. Yes, take it. The girl shook him. That's madness. The man said nothing, his jaw set, his eyes never leaving the hill. The last beam of the barn cracked, fell into itself, and the fire hissed, down to embers. Ash drifted over the dirt, coating their feet, their skin, their lips. The girl whispered, It tastes like dust. The boy spat into the dirt. It tastes like war. The man closed his eyes, the heat of the flames still burning his face. His voice came quiet, but strong. He took the barn. He took the land. He won't take what's left in me. stood together in silence. The night around them heavy with smoke and ruin. Ash still clung to their clothes when the children climbed the stairs. The fire smell hadn't left, but curiosity pulled them higher, into the attic where dust hung thick. The boy's hand brushed over a loose plank, and it shifted, hollow beneath. He whispered, "There's something here." The girl knelt beside him, fingers trembling as she pried it up. Inside lay a bundle wrapped in faded cloth, tied with twine darkened by age. She pulled it free, dust rising like smoke. The boy's eyes widened. Letters. They sat in the dim light, opening. The bundle. Old paper cracked at the folds. Ink bled, but still legible. The first bore a seal neither had seen, marked deep in wax. The girl read aloud, voice unsteady. "To my sons, this land is not ours. It was taken, bought with lies, and kept with blood." The boy's face twisted. "Grandfather." The girl flipped to the next, words sharper. "The sheriff's men guard it. The governor blesses it. But curses don't wash off easy." The boy whispered. He knew. The girl's throat closed. He let it happen. From below, the man's voice rose. "What are you two whispering about?" The boy shoved the letters back into the cloth. "Nothing." The man climbed the stairs, boots heavy. He stopped at the sight of them crouched, dust on their hands. His eyes caught the letters. "Show me." The girl hesitated. "Papa." His voice sharpened. "Now." She handed them over. He unwrapped the cloth, reading fast, lips pressed tight. His face changed with every line. Anger, disbelief, something colder. The boy asked. He knew, didn't he? The man nodded once, jaw hard. He knew. The girl's voice cracked, and he stayed quiet. The man shut his eyes, the words burning deeper than fire. Because silence was safer. The boy spat. "Safe for him, not for us." The girl whispered, "Not anymore." The man's hand tightened around the letters, veins rising on his fist. He read again, voice low. "If they come for you, remember the well. Remember the graves. Remember what I could not do." The boy frowned. "What well?" The man didn't answer, staring at the ink as if it were still wet. The girl tugged his sleeve. "Papa, it means you knew too, doesn't it? Not all of it, but some." His voice was flat. "I suspected. I never wanted it to be true." The boy stepped closer. "What do we do now?" The man folded the letters with care, his movements slow, deliberate. "We stop pretending we're innocent." The girl shook her head. "But we didn't steal anything." The man's eyes met hers. "Doesn't matter. Blood binds it. Their curse is ours." The boy's voice was fierce. "Then we fight." The girl snapped back. "Fight who? The sheriff? The brother? The whole town?" The boy glared. "All of them, if we have to." The man silenced them with a look. "Enough. These letters change everything. We use them." The girl's voice cracked. "Use them how?" His words came like stone. "To burn what they built. To take back what was ours, and what was never theirs to begin with." The attic creaked under their silence. Dust swirled in the lamp's glow, the air thick. The boy whispered, "Grandfather was a coward." The man shook his head. "He was broken. They broke him, the same way they're trying to break me." The girl's hands trembled. "And Mama." The man's eyes darkened. She chose to side with power. The boy growled, like the sheriff. The man's voice sharpened. "Don't compare her to him." The girl hugged herself, rocking slightly. "I don't want this. I don't want any of it." The man crouched before her, soot still on his face. "We don't get to choose. It chose us the moment he wrote these words." The boy picked up one letter, holding it close to the lamplight. "Blood debt. That's what it says. It won't end until it's paid." The man took it back gently, his eyes hard. "Then we'll pay it in full." The girl's eyes filled with tears. "Papa, you'll get killed." His hand touched her cheek. Maybe, but if I don't stand, you'll grow old with nothing but ashes. The boy's voice rose. Then I'll fight too. The man turned on him, harsh. No, this isn't your. Wait yet. The boy glared, fists tight. It's already mine. The man's voice softened. Not tonight. Tonight you keep your sisters safe. The girl clutched his arm. Promise me you won't do something you can't take back. He didn't answer. His eyes lingered on the letters, the ink, the words written in fury decades ago. The boy whispered. Grandfather wrote them in anger. The man's voice cut low. He wrote them in truth. They sat there in the attic, the lamp guttering, shadows bending long. The letters lay between them like a wound, old and unhealed. The girl whispered, "What if the curse is real?" The man's voice was steady. "It is." The boy leaned forward. "Do you believe in curses, Papa?" The man looked at him, then at the letters, then at the black night beyond the window. His reply was almost a whisper. "I do now." The lamp flickered once, smoke curling from its wick. The attic fell into deeper dark, the words on the letters seeming to breathe in the gloom. The girl pressed close to her brother. "I'm scared." The boy pulled her near. "Me too." The man stood, folding the letters again, tucking them inside his coat. His voice was iron. "Fear won't feed us. Fear won't save us. Action will." The children followed him down the attic stairs, steps creaking beneath their weight. The air grew heavier the further they descended, as though the house itself heard their choice. At the bottom, the man stopped, hand on the banister, eyes forward. "They think we'll bow, they think we'll break, but we have their truth now." The boy whispered, "What if it kills us?" The man answered without turning, "Then it kills us standing." They stepped into the kitchen, the night pressing against the windows. The barn was gone, the air still carrying smoke, but in his coat, against his chest, the letters burned hotter than fire. And the vow that began in ashes grew sharper, bound now by ink and blood. The storm came down heavy, rain slicing against the roof, wind howling through the broken boards of the barn's ruins. Lightning lit the sky white, then swallowed it in black again. The children huddled by the fire, their eyes drifting toward the door each time the thunder cracked. Then came the knock, hard, desperate. The boy stiffened. The girl whispered, "Who would come in this?" The man stood slow, hand brushing against the rifle by the wall. Another knock, louder, urgent. He pulled the door open. She stood there, soaked through, hair plastered to her face, one eye bruised dark, dress clinging and torn at the hem. Rain ran off her like she was part of the storm itself. Her voice shook. "He cast me out." The man's jaw locked. His reply came low, steady. "And now you crawl back." She flinched at the words, but didn't step inside. Her lips trembled. "I had nowhere else." The children pressed close behind their father, shadows in the doorway. The girl whispered, "Mama." The boy said, "Nothing," eyes burning. The man's voice was harder. "This floor remembers your leaving." She looked past him, to the children. "Please, let me see them." The boy snapped, "You already saw enough when you walked away." The girl clutched his arm. "Stop." The storm raged, thunder shaking. The windows. She stood shivering, tears mixing with the rain. Her hands were empty, her face a plea. The man stepped back just enough to let the firelight hit her. His eyes narrowed. "If you come in, it won't be as before." Her voice cracked. "I don't expect before." He let the silence drag, then moved aside. She stepped in, dripping on the floorboards she had once left cold. The girl whispered, "Mama." The woman reached toward her, but the boy pulled his sister back. "Don't." The girl cried. "She's hurt." The boy's voice was sharp. "So are we." The woman's tears fell faster. "I was blind. I thought wealth meant safety. I thought comfort would heal, but it was chains. He showed me." The man's words cut. and now you're marked by him." Her hand trembled toward her bruised face. "Yes," the girl asked, voice small. "Did he hurt you?" The woman nodded, slow and worse. "He laughed when he sent me out into the rain." The boy muttered. "Good. Now you know what you gave us." The girl shoved him. "Don't say that." The boy's eyes flared. "She chose him, over us, over Papa." The woman fell to her knees, sobbing onto the floor. I know what I did. I can't take it back. But please don't turn me away. Not tonight." The man's face stayed hard, though his eyes flickered with something buried. "Why should we believe you now?" She looked up at him, voice breaking. "Because he doesn't just want me gone. He wants you erased." He said it. He said he'll burn the rest of you out, the way he burned the barn. The boy clenched his fists. "I told you," the girl whispered. "Papa, she's warning us." The man leaned on the table, letters still hidden in his coat. His voice was like gravel. "What does he know of curses?" The woman's lips trembled, enough to fear them. "He said your blood is poisoned with secrets. He said your father left rot behind." The children froze. The man stepped closer, looming. "And you believed him?" She shook her head, desperate. "No, I only believe what I saw. He's greedy, cruel, worse than we thought. But I had no power. I was nothing in that house. Nothing but a possession," the boy spat. "And here you were supposed to be a mother." She winced, tears striking the wood beneath her knees. The girl moved, kneeling beside her. "We still need her," the boy barked. "No, we don't." The man raised a hand, silencing them both. His voice stayed low. "You come here, broken, beaten, crawling. Do you think pity lives in this house?" She whispered. "Not pity, just a chance." He studied her a long moment. Rain hammered the roof, the storm refusing to stop. Finally, he spoke. "One night, that's all. You sleep by the fire. When the sun comes, you tell me everything. Every word he said, every move he made." She nodded, relief shaking her shoulders. "Thank you," the boy muttered. "Mistake." The girl whispered. "She's our mama." The woman reached again for them. This time the girl let her hand be taken, small fingers, gripping wet ones. The boy turned away, jaw tight. The fire crackled, shadows dancing on the walls. She sat close, dripping dress steaming as the heat touched it. Her eyes never left the children. The man stayed standing, arms crossed, rifle leaning by his side. His gaze burned into her, as if one blink would let her vanish again. She whispered, "I'll make it right." His voice was steel. "You can't," the boy added, sharp. "Not ever." The girl murmured, "Maybe she can try." The storm rolled, shaking the old house to its bones. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the fire and the wind. She lay, curled near the hearth, dress drying in patches, breath uneven from both weeping and exhaustion. The girl sat close, head on her shoulder. The boy kept watch from the shadows, refusing to rest. The man finally sat, the letters pressing against his chest, heavier than before. His eyes lingered on her face, the bruises, the broken pride. He remembered the slam of the door, the silence of that night. And now here she was, begging for a place in the ruins. He muttered to himself, too low for any to hear, "What's broken stays broken." But his eyes didn't leave her, not even as dawn threatened behind the storm. The table creaked, as if it knew the weight of the night. Plates sat empty, bread torn but untouched. The fire burned low in the corner, shadows bending across the walls like witnesses. She sat at one end, head bowed, hands trembling in her lap. He sat across, jaw locked, eyes hard as stone. The children sat between, caught in the middle of a war, too old for them but burning fresh tonight. Her voice cracked first. "I only want forgiveness." His fork scraped against the plate, the sound sharp, cutting through the silence. Forgiveness don't come cheap. She swallowed, eyes glistening. I know what I did. You left. His voice carried no tremor, only blunt force. You chose him. You chose his money. And now you sit here asking me to forget. Her lip quivered. I didn't choose money. I chose you. Chose wrong. He cut in. The boy shifted in his chair, small fists pressed against his knees. The girl stared at her mother with eyes too wide, too knowing. She tried again, softer. I was blind. Blind. He leaned forward, elbows heavy on the table. You weren't blind when you packed your things. You weren't blind when you walked out that door with him. You weren't blind when you left them crying in their beds. Her tears slid down her cheek, catching firelight. I thought I could give them more. The boy spoke suddenly, voice sharp as glass. You didn't give us nothing. Her eyes snapped to him. Don't say that. It's true, he spat, eyes burning. You left us with nothing but him. He jerked his chin toward his father. She reached out across the table, hand trembling, but the girl flinched back, pulling her sleeve away. The man's voice dropped low, steady as a hammer. Would you be here if he still had the mansion? The question hung like smoke, choking the air. She froze, breath caught in her throat. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. The girl whispered, barely audible. Mama. She turned to her daughter, tears streaking her face. Yes, baby. The girl's voice cracked. Why'd you leave us? Her body shook, shoulders caving in. I thought I was doing right. I thought. You thought about yourself. The boy snapped, voice breaking. Her face fell into her hands. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But I came back. Doesn't that mean anything? The man's hand slammed the table, making plates rattle. Means you've run out of places to go. She lifted her head, desperation burning now. I came back because I realized the truth. He wasn't what he promised. He wasn't worth it. None of it was worth it. He leaned back, arms crossed, eyes never leaving her. And I'm supposed to believe you came back out of love, not convenience. Her tears kept falling, but her voice steadied. I came back because this is where I belong. With them, with you. The boy muttered, under his breath, too late. The girl whispered, I want her here. The room split with those words. The man turned sharply to his daughter. You don't know what? You want? Yes, I do, she said, voice shaking but sure. I want Mama home. The boy rose from his chair, fists balled. She don't deserve it. She's our mama. The girl shouted back. The boy's voice cracked, breaking into anger and grief all at once. She left us to starve. She left us with nothing. The man's voice thundered, cutting them both. Enough. The children froze, breaths quick, eyes wide. He turned back to her, gaze like iron. You've torn this family apart once. You. Think I'll let you do it again? Her voice dropped to a whisper. I'm not leaving this time. His eyes narrowed. That's what you said before. She leaned forward, desperate now, words tumbling. I've changed. Please, let me prove it. The boy spat bitterly. You can't fix what's broken. The girl's small hand touched her brother's arm. Don't say that. I will say it, he snapped, pulling away. The father sat back, silence pressing down heavy. He watched her, watched the children, watched the house itself groan under the weight of them all. Finally, he spoke. This house don't forgive easy. Her breath hitched. Then what will it take? He didn't answer. His silence was louder than any word. The fire popped. Shadows crawled higher on the walls. The children stared at their plates, eyes full of storms. She whispered broken, please. The man rose slowly, chair legs scraping against the floor. He stood at the head of the table, towering, weary, torn. His voice was low, final. Truth. That's all that matters now. And if you can't give it, you best not sit at this table. She nodded. tears dripping into her lap. Then I'll tell it. Every bit. The children's eyes flicked up, waiting. The firelight caught her face as she inhaled, preparing to spill years of silence into the room. And the house itself seemed to lean closer, trembling, as if it had waited too long to hear what she would say. The ground was damp around the grave, earth still soft from the last rain. The stone marker stood crooked, name etched shallow, as if even the carver had wanted to forget. He stood before it, hat in hand, fists trembling at his sides. The children clung to each other, their small hands knotted tight. She stood a step behind, breath shallow, eyes flicking between him and the mansion that loomed in the distance. He broke the silence first, voice like gravel. This ain't right. His son shifted, staring at the grave. What's not right? All of it, he growled. The land, the house, his name on deeds that weren't his, my blood feeding his fields. The daughter whispered, "Daddy." He knelt down, palm pressing hard against the soil. No more stolen names, no more stolen homes. The boy's eyes widened, catching the fire in his father's tone. "You mean, I mean it ends here." He rose, towering against the fading light, voice rising like thunder. "I'll take back what's ours. I'll bury him if I have to." Her breath caught, sharp and frightened. "Don't speak like that." He turned on her, face hard. "What else is left? He burned my barn. He took my name. He paraded you like a prize. And you want me quiet?" Her lips trembled. "I want you alive." "I'm not alive," he shot back. "I'm half a man standing on a grave, and he's the reason." The boy's small voice broke in. "Pa, if you fight him, the sheriff will come. The sheriff's already chosen his side." The man snapped. "He'd bury me quicker than seed if it meant keeping peace with money." The daughter's eyes filled with tears. "Then we'll lose you too." His jaw clenched, muscles working as if he could chew through the rage itself. He looked back at the grave, words spilling slow, heavy. "I swore to him once I'd keep this family safe. I failed, but I won't fail again." She stepped closer, hands trembling at her sides. "And what if vengeance don't save us? What if it damns us all?" He stared at her, eyes like stone. "Then let it better, damned with truth than blessed with lies." The boy kicked at the dirt, voice sharp. "What if you die? Then you remember this," he said, crouching to meet his son's eyes. "You remember who you are, not his name, not his blood, yours." The boy swallowed hard, nodding once. The daughter tugged at his sleeve. "Pa, I'm scared." He pulled her close, pressing her small head against his chest. "Good. Fear keeps you sharp, but don't let it chain you," she whispered, muffled. "I don't want to chain nothing. I just want you." Her voice cracked, and his arms tightened around her. For a moment, the rage flickered, softened, but then he looked back at the mansion on the hill, its dark windows staring down like eyes. The fire inside him roared again. He rose to his full height, hand lifting to point at it. "That ain't just wood and stone. It's a curse, a thief's crown. It breathes as long as he breathes, and I'll stop it." Her voice cut sharp behind. "Him, and what about me? What about us?" He didn't turn. "You left me once for him. You stood in that house. You know what it is." Her face burned with shame. "I know what it cost. That's why I'm begging you. Don't let it cost more." He finally faced her, eyes burning, voice like a whip. "You think I've got a choice? He made it, not me. Every step he takes is on stolen ground. Every meal he eats is from our soil. Every night he sleeps, it's in the bed that should have been ours. And I'm supposed to sit quiet?" Her hands shook as she pressed them to her chest. "You'll lose us." His words cracked like a gunshot. "I already did." The children flinched, silence dropping heavy. She whispered broken. "Then why am I here?" He stared at her, long and hard, before finally saying, "Maybe to watch what happens when the last thread snaps." The wind stirred, carrying the smell of damp earth and smoke from somewhere distant. The grave seemed to breathe underfoot, soil shifting faintly. The boy bent low, brushing dirt from the stone. His voice was quiet. He wouldn't want this. The man's eyes softened for a moment, gazing at his son. He wanted us to stand, not bow. That's all I'm doing. The girl clutched her brother's hand. Pa's right. We can't bow no more. The boy squeezed back, torn. But fighting means dying. The man knelt once more at the grave, hand pressing into the soil until his knuckles turned white. I swear it here. By his name, by this earth, by the blood already spilled. I won't let it stand. I'll take back what's ours, even if it kills me. She shivered, voice trembling. You'll drag us all into the ground with you. He looked up at her, face hard, steady. Then stand with me. Or don't, but I won't stop. The fire in his words silenced them all. The children clung tighter to each other, their small faces pale in the dying light. The mansion loomed higher as the sun dipped, its shadow stretching long across the fields, swallowing fence posts, trees, and finally the very edge of the grave. The boy whispered, voice barely audible. It's watching us. The girl nodded, eyes wide. Feels like it's breathing. The man rose, eyes locked on the house. His voice carried low, steady as stone. Let it watch. Let it breathe. Its days are numbered. The silence after was thick, heavy with oaths. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering though no wind blew. I don't know if you're saving us or ending us. He didn't look at her. His eyes never left the mansion. Both. And as the first stars blinked awake above the hill, the grave beneath their feet seemed to settle, as if the earth itself had heard the vow and would hold it until the end. The door creaked wide beneath his push, heavy wood groaning like a beast awakened. The children clung to their mother's skirts, eyes darting around the shadowed hall. The house smelled of smoke and polish, of money and rot. Every portrait on the walls seemed to watch, faces stern, eyes unblinking. He stepped across the threshold first, boots thudding against polished stone. His voice was low, almost reverent. This should have been ours, the boy whispered. Feels cold. The girl shivered, like it knows we don't belong. He glanced back at them, jaw tight. We belong more than anyone. From the far end of the hall came the echo of boots, slow, deliberate. The sheriff stepped out first, badge gleaming in the lantern glow. Behind him followed the brother, slick smile cut across his face, pistol in hand. Well, look who crawled out of the dirt, the brother said, voice dripping. Didn't think you had the spine to walk up here. The man's voice cracked, sharp. Spine's all I got left. The sheriff's hand rested on his gun. You shouldn't be here, not with them. His eyes flicked toward the children, then the woman. Take him home. Leave this house standing. The man squared his shoulders. This house ain't standing on stone. It's standing on lies. The brother laughed, cruel and loud. Lies bought me gold. Lies gave me her. He gestured at the woman, smirk widening. And you? You got mud. You got ash. You got nothing. The woman's voice trembled. Stop this. Quiet. The brother snapped. Her eyes flashed, but she dropped her gaze. The children pressed closer against her sides. The man took another step forward, hand twitching near his holster. You stole land. You stole names. You stole blood. You think that makes you a man? The sheriff's voice cut firm. Watch. You cross a line here. You don't walk out. The man's eyes didn't leave his brother. I crossed it long ago. The brother sneered, lifting his pistol just enough to gleam. So what now? You kill me in my house. In front of your brats. The boy's voice cracked in the silence. Don't call us that. The sheriff glanced at the boy, uneasy. Son, best keep quiet. The man's voice rose, shaking the rafters. You built this house on graves, on our father's land, on every oath you broke, every night you slept. Easy was stolen from us. The brother's smirk faltered, just a flicker. You talk too much. Because truth cuts deeper than bullets, the man said. Gunfire cracked. The brother fired first, flame lighting his smirk, but the man was faster. His shot slammed true, the echo rolling through the halls like thunder. The brother stumbled back, pistol slipping from his hand, blood soaking his shirt. The children screamed. The woman covered their faces. The brother gasped, eyes wide, voice rattling. You'll never. His knees hit the floor. He toppled against the stair rail, body limp. The grand chandelier above swung faintly with the tremor of his fall. The sheriff's gun was half drawn, hands shaking. He looked at the corpse, then at the man, then at the wide eyes of the children. His mouth twisted, voice rough. This ain't my fight, not anymore. He backed toward the door, holster snapping shut. You'll burn for this, or maybe you'll rise. Don't matter to me. He spat on the floor, then turned and left, boots fading into the dark. Silence crashed heavy. The man stood, breathing hard, gun still raised, arm trembling. He lowered it slow, staring at his brother's body. The children peeked past their mother's arms, pale and wide-eyed. The woman whispered, broken, you've damned us. He turned, eyes burning. I've freed us. She shook her head, tears streaking. At what cost? He stepped forward, voice hard. The cost was paid long before tonight. Paid when he signed the deeds. Paid when he took you. Paid when he burned our barn and spit on our father's grave. Tonight I just collected what was owed. The boy edged forward, staring at the keys, dangling from his uncle's belt. Slowly, he bent, unhooked them, and held them out. His small hand shook. Paw. The man took them, metal cold and heavy in his palm. He closed his fist around them, breath shuddering. His eyes lifted to the stained glass above the stair, dawn's first light filtering through. Color spilled across the hall, red, gold, blue washing the blood, the faces, the walls. The girl whispered, "It looks different now." He nodded, voice hoarse. "Because it's ours." The woman dropped to her knees, covering her face, sobs tearing out of her. "I can't bear it. I can't." He turned away from her, facing the children instead. "We don't run anymore. We don't bow. This house don't belong to liars. It belongs to us." The boy stared at him. "So what now?" He looked at the stained glass again, light spilling stronger. "Now we make it right. We tear down the lies and build something new." The girl whispered, "Pa, will it ever stop hurting?" His hand rested heavy on her shoulder. "One day, but not today." The woman's sobs quieted into silence, her hands falling from her face. She looked up at him, broken eyes searching. "You'll never be the same." His gaze didn't waver. "None of us will." He moved toward the grand staircase, boots echoing against the stone. The children followed, step by step, small shadows climbing behind him. The keys jingled faintly in his fist. At the landing, he turned, looking down at the hall, at the body cooling on the floor, at the woman kneeling in tears. His voice was soft, final. "This house is ours." Dawn broke full through the glass, flooding the mansion in light. The colors washed the blood, the walls, the broken faces, until everything glowed in fire and gold. And for the first time, the house seemed to breathe not with lies, not with curses, but with the weight of a vow that could not be undone.